So I play two instruments. I play clarinet and piano. And at the moment I'm part of two bands kind of things.
So I sing and play folk music, and my motto is more traditional is better.
I study digital mixed media art.
I'm into photography and filmmaking. I'm really interested in textile photography.
I'm an artist/filmmaker.
I do photography, but I'm interested in like all aspects of the art.
I do art. I write a lot of poetry in my spare time, and I'm really into like music and film.
I play the guitar and I write songs.
My music teacher once said I had the concentration style of a starfish. I found it really hard to concentrate and sing, even though I could do the maths and stuff.
I was really interested and drawn to art as a subject because it was a way of sort of creating, bringing ideas to life, expressing myself.
The reason why I enjoy folk music so much is because I don't know, like when I sing it I feel like I'm kind of part of that whole thing, and if I sing a song and someone else sings it, I've like been part of handing that song down through generations, which is kind of how it was started and that's how it still continues, and I think there's something quite magical about the fact that what I'm doing might actually kind of influence the future of folk music.
I guess I've just always been drawn to art just because it's nice not like to kind of live out of the real world for a bit, like just to have fun, just as something fun to do. I'm always just like composing stuff. It was when I started to realise, like when I spent more time on social media or when I discovered like Rookie Mag and stuff, the opportunity is there. I was really convinced by like everything on the internet. Like there's no reason not to, there's just it doesn't matter if it's bad, but I've always enjoyed it, so why not just try to figure something out.
I've always been interested in the arts because I was just brought up in a really artistic family.
I'm brought up in a family of artists. My mum went to Bangladesh for a few years to do textiles, and she's always been so passionate about it, and she's brought that into mine with them inside.
I was first attracted to being an artist and making films because it allowed me to externalize a lot of thoughts and ideas that I had kind of inside my head. So it gave me a way of translating and communicating kind of a vision or kind of an idea to other people, and I really, really like that.
It's just more creativity, and it's just a lot more to do, more things to explore. I'm from Wales, and we have Eisteddfods there, which are basically like competitions, and they do them from like a really young age, where they're like drawing or singing or like writing poetry, any kind of art form. And so like my parents encouraged me to do that, and so I've just always been kind of doing some form of art. I think art is appealing to more people than areas like science or something, because I think it speaks to the wider masses more easily. It's like a more accessible kind of language, because you don't need any kind of qualification to appreciate art.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I first started to consider myself an artist around the age of 15, 16. I started to think about after GCSEs, and I realised art was the only interest I had.
I've never really considered myself an artist until recently, when I've actually realised that I'm not terrible.
My family are all artists, and I kind of got brought up in a situation that was very, art-based. So I think it's always been something that's dominant for me.
Probably when I started writing songs at like 13.
My first folk performance thing, and it kind of just blossomed from there. And then I did have band project thing at the folk festival, the Folk Festival, and then I've been to Folkworks, and I performed at Beverley Folk Festival this summer.
I like doing art and I like appreciating other people's art because it's like nice to be able to experience like what they were experiencing and like the emotions that they go through when they create their art themselves.
Because of social media and the World Wide Web, it's easy to use that as a platform to showcase your art and everything that you're doing.
writes poems, I don't like his prose.
There's a lot of artists and filmmakers that inspire me. I'm really interested in kind of the unconscious and also of female form, but I'd say my favourite artist is Jean-Michel Basquiat. I like Warhol's sense of colour design. I like David Lynch as a filmmaker massively, and that kind of ties into Hitchcock as well.
Definitely Tracy Emin. She's inspired a lot of my work just by how free her artwork is.
Greta Gerwig in Frances Ha, which is a black and white film, and I feel inspired by her performance in it. She's the main actress in it, as well as her kind of filmmaking career.
My favourite artist I would have to say is Van Gogh, which is a bit cliche, but I just always loved his work. My dad has a big old book full of paintings by Van Gogh, which I discovered when I was about 10 and I just always loved.
I like a bit of Da Vinci, a bit of most like the French art, and then I like a bit of Pollock, Picasso, Dali, those people like that. And then for music, Bowie and post-punk.
Quite a big inspiration for me is through social media and stuff, finding out about bands like Girl Pool and Hines, and just basically girls just getting together, and they were just one day picked up guitars, okay, let's just try and make some music, let's just see what happens. Just sort of doing it really, because when you see that, you're like, okay, maybe I should get out there and try this, because it doesn't have to be really well produced kind of music. It can be quite lo-fi, and still so many people love that. I think people feel a kind of connection, because they're these girls are my age and they're doing it, and they're kind of talking about kind of relevant teenage topics.
I think a musician called Faye Heels. She just sings really traditionally, and I didn't really like her when I first heard her voice recorded, but I saw her live, and I don't know, it all just made sense, and kind of her style of singing is something that I really aspire to have myself.
I'd say my favourite artists, photography wise, would be Sarah Jones and Elaine Constantine, that kind of changed the outlook of women in fashion and women in fashion photography.
There's a really good photographer called Hannah Villager, and she focuses on empowering herself and desexualizing herself by showing her body in the photos. She does a lot of skin and exploratory stuff, and she does it in such a way that instead of, because she's showing her boobs, it's the sexual thing. It's more of this is my body, it's not a sexual thing, it has a purpose.
As a female artist, I have to say that the biggest inspiration and motivation for me would be Sarah Lucas, actually, because I know her on a personal level, and seeing the difference between her art persona and the artwork she puts out there, and kind of the inspiration process she goes through to get there, has really motivated me to just be myself and make artwork, and the dilemma between those two things.
I think my biggest inspiration within my life was both my parents, just because I feel being brought up in a non-judgmental kind of individual environment has made me an artist. They let me make my own mistakes rather than tell me what not to do, and I think that's a big inspiration for me as a person.
I'd probably say that a woman that has empowered me in the arts would be my grandma, just because I've always been really inspired by her relationship with the arts.
I'd say lots of women make me feel empowered as a woman, ranging from people like Laura Bates, who set up the Everyday Sexism Project, is something that I've found really interesting, especially as someone who's experienced sexism on a day-to-day basis. But then also kind of more prominent ones like Alice Walker. I read The Colour Purple and it was just really profound, and Rosa Parks, and just seeing what a huge part she had to play in the civil rights movement. But then also more modern people like Nicki Minaj or Beyonce, and they make me feel empowered in a more sexual way, in a kind of a different kind of freedom than say Rosa Parks was fighting for.
My mum, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but
she is one of the most important people in my life. She's brought me up in a way that allows me to delve further into what people mean instead of being like writing them off straight away. And yeah, I love her.
And generally, a woman who empowers me is Jo Cox. She seemed to really be integral in her work and truly value the people that she was picked to work for and value kind of the greater cause of what she was doing. So yeah, she's quite inspirational.
I'm really interested and inspired by things I'm surrounded by. I get a lot of inspiration from that, as well as things like film and music. Frida Kahlo, Blondie, PJ Harvey, Virgin Mary, and my mother.
I feel like one thing that really inspired me was probably just finding out about Grimes, like, not that she's really like, oh god, I discovered Grimes, but like, just hearing about like how Claire Bouch, like, she literally like just sealed herself in her room and just was like, I'm going to make this album on GarageBand, like, it's just so, it's so within reach.
Who you woke up with? I drove myself off to.
My next step at the moment would probably be that I want to continue with my studies, like while still being artistic.
Okay, so my next step within art is to do an art foundation year in Bournemouth, which is a filmmaking, animation and photography course for 9 months, I think.
Next step for me, which is really exciting, is I'm doing a film course with the ICA in space, and that basically gives me a budget so I can follow my creative ideas to the fullest potential, and that's happening over this winter. And then I'm also doing art foundation.
Next year I am going to Farnborough Sixth Form, and I will be doing art, textiles and psychology.
Like, art as a career is probably just not very realistic, and I feel like that's mostly because I don't feel I have the sort of self-discipline that most artists have. Like, I like sort of when you see the kind of work ethic of most artists, like how I was mentioning about Grimes, like literally like working on this thing solidly to get an album out. But it's definitely something I'd like to continue with.
I'm definitely interested in going to university, and I'll probably go into politics in some form. I'm not really sure yet.
My next step as an artist is to study fine art printmaking at Brighton. So I'll be starting my degree really soon. Next step, general waste, because I'm trash, and just making music and learning more about music and art.
I have another year of A-levels to go, so, and I do like philosophy and English and all those kind of things, which is kind of art.
Yeah, I would like to do art, keep on going throughout my life, just being creative and having things that inspire me. Maybe do something with fashion and art and music. For the future, I'm just going to see where things take me. I don't have a steady, set plan. I'm kind of spontaneous in the way I sort of do things.
But I feel like I would like definitely love to have a career like in the arts.
Like, in the long-term future, I'd say, I mean, it's a hard one because it's so kind of vast, but I'd say probably I'm interested in filmmaking. I'm not sure about university because prices are so, you know, I'm a full art student. But I'd say probably I want to either become a curator, a filmmaker, or kind of make a creative space for people to come together and make a community as well.
I don't know if I can put all my faith in my art to keep, like, help me make a living, but I'm definitely going to carry it on, like, as a side thing, and like I might have like a main job and then be an art therapist as like a side job, because there's not much field for it at the moment.
My future for art, I think, or music, is to just listen to as many songs as I can and learn as many as I can, because I think that's the most valuable thing in folk music.
I do want to continue with music, but only as a sort of side thing. Like, as long as I can, I'd like to keep being in the bands that I am in, and maybe like go in other bands. That'd be really nice. But yeah, not as a career, not as like I want to make money out of this, just because it's so nice to do.
I never want to fully stop doing art or anything, because I think it's like a really important part of who I am and how I've lived my life so far. but I don't think it would be a kind of main career.
I'm not really planning on doing a degree at the moment. Don't tell my mum. But I just kind of want to jump straight into it, and there's so many places I want to travel to, and I want to make art my job there, and I want to enjoy what I'm doing within art, and I feel like the only way I can enjoy my job is if it involves art. So just kind of jumping into it is my plan, really.